Flow, a British girl group who gained attention back in 2022 with their debut single, Cardboard Box. Feverishly reminiscent of the vocalista R&B girl groups of the late 90s and early 2000s. They've gained more visibility with consistent single releases and finally their debut album, a group with infinite potential, but a team that's misguiding them and holding them back. Their Lollapalooza performance went viral for, well, the outfits. But this unknowingly opened up a Pandora's box of bad unfinished business. A former stylist alleging lack of payment that the group owes her thousands and thousands of dollars, with one group member getting involved and creating a firestorm of drama surrounding Flow, their ethos, their ethics. This is the second time in 1 month that they've been called out for creative controversy. But is this leaving a lasting brandish and bad taste on their career trajectory? You know what they say, you're only as strong as your team, and you're only as strong as your weakest link. Hey guys, it's your girl Cameron, and I'm back at it again with another video. I've been talking more about artists and their teams, artists themselves getting lashings, because they are the front-facing entity, when in reality there's often an entire machine behind them shaping their image, brand, and sound. We've been talking about groups on this channel as of late, as a renaissance in the West is perhaps upon us. And Flow has been a girl group really leading that charge with the potential to be massive, in my opinion. Vocals, harmonies, catchy songs, but what happens when your business is not in order? Some of you guys may know I have spoken on Flow before. I have supported the music. I'm an avid listener, and this was very shocking information to me. They're to me the girl group that has it the most figured out sonically in 2025. But one thing that they're missing, perhaps, is the business and branding. Maybe not necessarily aesthetically, that can be debated, but as far as a team, now their wardrobe, apparently, and the way that they address scandals and handle conflict is something that increasingly could become an issue and stifle their growth. But let's be clear. This is not an issue exclusive to Flow themselves, but rather a bigger issue within the industry. The industry is bleeding cash right now, and artists are becoming more transparent about the corners they have to cut. Creatives behind the scenes being transparent about the money they're not getting paid. I mean, let's take, for example, Tyla saying that she recently had to do her own hair for a performance due to budgets. And now we have Flow Stylist coming out saying they have not been paid. And there's a lot bubbling under the surface, right? So this is not a video to rag on Flow as a group, as a lot of this information is alleged, but rather I want to put this conversation into perspective and lay everything out on the table. The reality of the industry and all of the moving pieces that exist to make a solo artist and a group happen. Who's to blame? The artist or their team? So let me know what you guys think. Hit that subscribe button down below to see more content like this if you enjoy this. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video. The Stylist. This is ground zero. The expose that would follow. So a Twitter account posted a performance of Flow at Lollapalooza, Paris this July. Keep in mind, Flow is a British girl group that was formed in 2019, signed by Island Records, with releasing their debut single in 2022. So they're still relatively new, and any visibility you can get is much appreciated and much needed. So the video itself created conversation, not because of the performance or the singing or the vocals. No. But the outfits. It was all about the outfits. And I saw some of the most egregious comments. But the biggest one, someone tweeting, they look like Bridgerton hookers. I don't know what was going on with these outfits. I remember scrolling and seeing it and just like, okay, I don't know. So a lot of fans pointed out how their wardrobe has not really been, they haven't been in their bag. No pun intended. If anything, their wardrobe, in my opinion, for a girl group, wasn't that bad. I know a lot of people have opinions on how they've presented. Looking at YouTube videos and pictures for this video, I like how they dress. Cohesive, a tad glam, a little edgy, a throwbacky feel, but still kind of modern. But for those of you guys who know, styling a group is very, very difficult. And just to give you guys a little laugh, someone said, Fifth Harmony had a stylist. that got paid. Let that sink in. So there is a running joke about how a lot of modern day girl groups don't have the best styling, the most cohesive styling. But one fan began to question, hey, where's your previous stylist? Like, y'all need to call her up. This tweet specifically saying, no shade, but I miss Lee Trigg bad. Jorja, who is 1/3 of Flo, commented on this fan's tweet saying, I don't. And this account who made this tweet would end up deleting it. She felt really bad because it ended up causing all of this havoc, right? It just kept snowballing. But this opened up the floodgates. A group member shading an ex-stylist in response to them getting their outfits ripped apart on the internet. Yikes, this would only get worse. So the ex-stylist in question is Lee Trigg, a stylist based in London, UK. She's worked with Tyla, Lola Young, as well as Flo, obviously. And she's done a lot of work on their looks for the AAA era, one that many fans have pointed out to favor. I think she definitely helped elevate some of their image. Now in comes the stylist. The stylist enters the chat. Now you guys know that she saw the tweets. She hopped on Twitter to say that Flo allegedly owes her over 50,000 pounds, or around $67,000 USD for styling work that she did, claiming that she's been contacting their team for about a year to recoup the fees, to recoup the funds through legal channels, of course. So Lee Trigg says, quote, sad that this is the only response I've gotten in almost a year of chasing them and their team for over 50,000 pounds in unpaid fees, expenses, late fees. Please reply to my lawyers. That's fair. I'm chasing you, you're not answering, but you have time to respond to a shady tweet. So of course, there were people immediately saying to the stylist, why not handle this solely through your lawyers? If they're not replying, just go through the proper channels to contact them. And she said, the billable hours with my lawyers were getting too high for me to pay. I can't afford them to keep chasing. They've been working on the case and trying to get a response / reach a settlement since May. And she actually posted a breach of the agreement that was sent to their team. Now, I do want to detail this because this is important and relevant to the story. If you look at the memo, it says that there was a deal memo dated July 2nd, 2024 for around 12,000 pounds. And then there was another deal memo dated July 2nd, 2024 in the amount of about 6,000 pounds for the dancers' looks. And then there was a deal memo dated August 31st for the amount of around 700 pounds. So in total, that amounted to 19,297 pounds. That was for the work. In addition to the outstanding sum for her work, there have also been late fees tagged on to the initial sum. So that late fee summed up to 38,133 pounds. So in total, when you add all of those numbers up, they technically owe Lee Trigg 57,431 pounds. And if you guys need a little bit of a converter, that 57,000 pounds is about $76,000 USD. Now you may say, that's an expensive ass late fee, girl. Like, who's paying that? But you have to remember, when you're running a business, especially as a creative, you need safeguards. There's most likely late fees to make sure that you are for sure compensated. Just pay people on time and there should not be a major issue. What really was interesting to me, and what's gross about stan culture, it's a plague. As much as I did see people saying, hey, this is really shady, Flo needs to address this, there were a lot of people also resorting to trying to discredit the stylist immediately, especially after she had posted receipts. This is a lady who has been proven to have worked with them, eventually showing proof of legal documents that were sent Flo's direction. And she was shaded and mocked. In certain scenarios, right is right and wrong is wrong. Granted, we don't have all of the facts, and at this point, Flo had not yet spoken. Already a bigger conversation started. Many people saying that Flo needs better PR team. You're fanning flames to a fire that no one knew existed. We didn't know the fire was there. And to add insult to injury, Jorja would then post this on her Twitter, referencing the storm she started because of tweeting. And Lee Trigg also uncovered that another group member, Renee, had her blocked on Twitter. She was also making some tweets alluding to the situation as well. Then in comes Sean Bankhead. So if some of you guys do not know, he is a reputable, world-renowned choreographer in the industry, and he worked with Flo on their In My Bag choreography. And on Twitter, he comes out the blue and says, 50K, I wish. So everybody was like, This has to be in relationship to the Flo situation because of this 50K number. I guess a hairstylist of Flo, I believe it's Aaliyah the Goat. Aaliyah the Goat. I believe her name's Aaliyah the Goat. To clarify, fans made this up completely. Her live was from April, and she was not talking about the group nor Sean. So fans ran with this and went with the wind. Then there was a girl on Twitter who said, oh, we know you got your 50K for your 30 seconds of choreography. Trig is looking for the money the whole time. You have it. I don't know why Sean was getting unnecessarily lashings. I don't know why he was put into the situation, but he entered the chat and said that he had been paid by the group. I'm clearing up that he was not paid the specific amount that people were trying to act like he was paid. Because I think people were trying to compare the two, like, dang, like, Sean Bankhead gets his money, but why can't Stylist get her money? Da, da, da. It became this whirlwind of who did what, other creatives being summoned about their work with Flo, people questioning the character of the group members, people discrediting the talent of the group. Like, it just got very messy. But Jorja began typing again. Responding to a fan who said, y'all think Jorja and Renee are going to tweet knowing they're in the wrong? I don't think so. There's more to this story than we think. And Jorja says, wow, I'm so glad there's someone on this app with a brain, right? Alluding to the fact that there was absolutely more to the story, which I did not doubt. Hardly is there ever one side to the story and one side is fully correct. It usually meets somewhere in the middle. Jorja would provide more shady insight, saying that the clothing for the styling job she did was ripped. She goes, for one show, we pay for finished work. Hashtag I ain't in the mood. And as you can see on the screen here, it's a picture of a hole in the dress on a job she styled. Now, she didn't design the clothes, so that's not really her fault per se, but she pulls the looks, right? Like, she puts together what goes with what. It was a little snarky. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little nasty. And mind you, this is why the artist should just let your team handle it, because you basically just admitted to not paying, or at least not paying the full amount. Basically corroborating what the stylist is saying. Now, we can all agree that the girl should not have been addressing this in real time. This team should have gone into crisis mode. And from what I understand, Stella was the only one who kind of stayed out of it. But Lee Trigg, let's be very clear. I'm sitting here trying to say that maybe it was the team. It's the team. It's the team. Well, Lee Trigg also claimed that it's not their label Island Record that owes her. It is Flo. It is their camp. It is their management. It is their team specifically that owes her the money, right? To dispel any of that question there. So Flo got torched a little bit, a lot. It kind of spread like wildfire. And about a day later, Flo's team came out with an interesting statement saying, we are aware of the recent statements and public claims made by Lee Trigg, none of which we accept. We as a management have attempted on several occasions to resolve this matter on our client's behalf privately and amicably. Unfortunately, that has not been possible. Flo have also personally attempted to reach out and find a solution with Leanne. We feel it's important to clarify the work in question, which totals £19,000, excluding the late fees that we don't accept. On the day of a major U.S. festival, the team were left with incomplete outfits by Leanne for Flo and Flo's dancers, for which Flo and the dancers had to source alternatives for at the last minute. This incident follows a 6-month period during which Leanne was paid in full for her services, receiving in excess of £100,000. This situation is and has been in the hands of Flo's legal team. The girls deeply value work of the creatives they work with and have always made a priority that their team are paid. We will not be commenting publicly further on this matter following this. Management 364. Put a pin in that. That management is important. We're going to get to that. In my opinion, I think that there were parts of the statement that were in poor taste. The fact that they said the late fees that we don't accept in parentheses, something about that was very unprofessional to me. Now, if it is true that the job was not fully completed, I have worked behind the scenes in some of these scenarios. And there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of last minute business that does happen on these jobs. Show business, baby. Now, if she did not complete everything to their liking, there is absolutely a way I believe that you could negotiate that rate. Like, we weren't 100% happy with the service, but you just don't not pay somebody. And that's what Lee Trigg is saying, that she has not gotten paid for those specific jobs because there was still labor put into putting X, Y, and Z together. At the bottom of the statement, it does say that the management is 364. Is this the management in question? Is this Flo's management? Well, Lee Trigg did come out and responded to this statement saying that she was never in contact with a 364 management. She don't even know what that is. She posted screenshots and said very clearly that she has only been in contact with URock management in regards to these invoices. So I don't know if those are the same thing, but from her understanding, they are two separate managements, two separate entities. If you go to this 364 page, I'm sorry, I did a little snooping. When you go to their 364 page on Instagram and you click on the link, and they have a website that comes up called Project 364, it says that the website is coming soon and it's not yet active. So it sounds like either this management is launching soon or it's fairly new, because a running management wouldn't not have a working website, right? So that was also confusing, because is this new management handling business from a previous management? Like, is it transferring over? Do they know the whole story? But it gets worse. Then it comes out that Jorja's boyfriend is potentially their manager, that he is a part of or in charge of 3-6 management. Yeah. So I do want to clarify. It appears that Sam Eldridge from U-Rock is still their manager, whom I think they've been working with for most of their career, because they did split with their original manager, Robert Harrison, or announced it at least last year in July.
I'm guessing your ex-manager done something dodgy.
Hella things.
Not dodgy,
No,
just
it's
bad.
just weird.
Just like wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Being a manager is hard, and if you're not capable, then don't be a manager.
They have multiple management companies that handle different aspects of their career, and it appears that Saul, who is Jorja's boyfriend, works at 364 Management in legal, allegedly. So he's not their manager, but he is definitely a part of their team. And that's mistake number one. I'm sure some of you guys don't know, but these ladies are pretty young. I'm pretty sure they were born 2001, 2002. So they're early 20s, young. A lot of you guys know a lot of boyfriends, you lead them out the business. Honestly, you leave husbands out the business. Leave husbands out the business. Leave boyfriends out the business. Not a good idea, especially in your early 20s. There is a tweet from 2024 where Jorja explicitly says, "I would like to thank my boyfriend for believing in us before anyone ever did." So this hints that he has absolutely had ample involvement in their career. It gets bad because you're like, dang, okay, we're talking about teams, we're talking about management and how this can be the downfall. And now there's a boyfriend involved. That usually does not end well. And the way that it's being handled is making them look worse. Now, this really shows that you're only as strong as your team. The fact that the group members didn't have somebody telling them, hey, this isn't the battle you want to fight. Hey, we're currently dealing with Lee Trigg. Like, if there's any tweets about it, don't say anything. We're handling it behind the scenes. The fact that that was not said, or they bypassed that, something's not clicking. And then one of the worst parts about it is there were fans campaigning for Stella to now go solo because she was the only one who stayed silent and stayed out of it. Classic girl group splitting origin story, right? People are already planting those seeds with other people revealing their feelings that they've always felt that Stella was the quote unquote star. So now you've positioned your group to be in this level of scrutiny and you're not even standing as a united front. This Stylist situation puts into perspective that artists have all of these team players, right? Managers to publicists to stylists to hairstylists, people they work with consistently to fulfill their bookings and obligations. And they need to be treated with respect, and these relationships need to be treated with care, especially publicly. Now, this unfortunately was not their only creative scandal in the month of July. There's another one. Let's talk about the artwork. So Flo recently did a collaboration with Kate Tronada called The Mood. They apparently commissioned artwork for a visualizer that was uploaded on July 10th, 2025. Very quickly after it was posted, people alleged that the animation was traced from Dance Central's intro, which was animated originally by Robert Valley. People noticed a lot of the frames matched up quite perfectly with the original animation, like bar for bar, frame for frame. Tracing is the process of drawing over an existing image or video frame, essentially creating a copy of it by following its lines and shapes. So there are artists who do this in practice privately, right? Whether it's to sharpen their skills, to hone their skills, to learn new techniques, etc. But it is generally understood as taboo or unethical to pass it off as your own. And this is what people were concerned about. Many people noticed that the artwork and framing was almost identical to what was then produced in Flo's animation video. Again, another situation where it might not necessarily be Flo who contracted the artist. They probably saw the final product, they signed off on it, said this is great, but rather someone on their team. And of course, Flo being the face of their group, they're gonna get the lashes. That's just how it works. So in the YouTube comments, it is plagued with people calling them out, informing them that this is a traced animation, that it's pretty clear that it is, and that it is unethical. There was a tweet that was made that got over 100,000 likes, calling out Flo on the animation. I mean, there was even a reader's context added to a tweet to say it was traced. Not good. Not good.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
So for these two instances to happen merely within 1 month, y'all, 1 month is not a good look by any means. Even if there's scenarios in here where they might be innocent or they didn't have anything to do with it, it appears that you don't value the creatives you work with and you don't respect the process. After they were told it was stolen, I don't think they made any sort of announcement or wrote credit or addressed it. They kind of just brushed it under the rug, which also rubbed people the wrong way. I want to talk about the reality of the situation and the bigger picture here. I know that you guys, a lot of y'all, especially on the internet, that's where a lot of fans mobilize today, you will defend your faves relentlessly. I like Flo as a group. I really like Flo as a group. I love their album. I think they're great. But let me hold your hand. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. I'm not talking about Flo fans, but in general. You guys will get on the timeline and cry every day about how your favorite artist is not getting the promotion they deserve. They're not getting paid what they deserve. They're not getting the recognition or respect that they deserve, whether it be from their label, whether it be from the general public, whether it be from the industry. But let some small artist who is being treated unfairly at the hands of your favorite artist and or their team. You can't empathize with the other party because you like someone's music that much. Business is business. And Lee Trigg did come out with a TikTok video, a video statement to clarify what's going on with the situation and really verify her tone.
This is an intense scenario to be in for me. And I think bottom line, I just want to be paid for the work that I've done. And Flo is unwilling to pay me for work that I've performed. I delivered completed work with clear visual updates all along the way at every step. And due to situations beyond my control, like tailoring and budgets, the girls were unhappy with certain elements of those looks. This is not a valid reason to not pay your stylist. This is not a valid reason to not pay anybody. I will be continuing the legal route. That is how I'm handling this. But every minute and every letter and everything that my lawyer has to do, I have to pay for that time. So this is just costing me so much money. Money was spent out of my pocket in order to complete these jobs. My assistants have been paid. We spent money on the dancers that has not been reimbursed. I am well beyond out of pocket for this work, not to mention the time that it's been out of my pocket. The amount of stories that I have received since this has all come to light is really alarming. And I just want to be paid and I want this to be over.
Update to the saga. On Tuesday, July 29th, Lee Trigg made another TikTok updating everybody on what's been going on and that she has been contacted by Flo's lawyers.
So since this has become so public, I have now heard from Flo's lawyers. But unfortunately, they're using a tactic to drag this process out and they're asking for more evidence. They're asking for more proof that they owe me money, which we have. Not only do we have proof that they know how much they owe me, but we also have proof that they are aware of my late fee terms. This tactic of asking for more evidence is clearly a way to drag this out for me and to make this more expensive for me and to make this more long for me. But I will be going through with another round of communication in hopes to receiving a settlement, because I don't want this to drag out anymore, and suing them, it will just be worse.
But let's just say there is a hierarchy here. Being front facing can, yes, be hard, but it's also a blessing, right? It's a blessing and a curse. You receive the credit as much as you receive the backlash. You're the face of the high highs and you're the face of the low lows. There's two sides of the coin. However, there are many artists who support these acts, from stylists to choreographers to set designers and producers, the masterminds behind the iconery. They have a team for a reason, because an artist, a singer, cannot handle every single aspect of their career at a certain point. Singers get screwed over all the time by their teams, right? But I feel like a lot of the people in the background get the scraps. They really get the scraps. Like, if you guys think the singers get the scraps, the stylists, the hairstylists, the dancers get the scraps, baby. They get the scraps. Now, we don't know their working relationship with Lee Trigg, for example. Clearly, it wasn't a good one, in their opinion. But good work can also mean a bad experience. So even though the fans liked the work she was doing, maybe Flo just felt like the working relationship was not feasible, and that's fine. While no, we don't have all the facts, and that's why I also think it's important to reserve judgment and hold some space for neutrality. But it is important that creatives are getting paid for their work. Period. This should be the baseline. Non-negotiable, undebatable. Boom. There should be no arguments about that in the comments. So fans recently dug up a clip of an interview Flo did in March 2024. I believe this is prior to them working with Lee Trigg, but they speak specifically about how difficult it is for them to find a stylist that they like because they have very high standards.
I love it. Who's doing the styling? Because they're eating.
We actually don't have a stylist.
I don't have a stylist?
Yeah, we're in a transition period.
Oh, okay.
We're still trying to like find someone that just like gets it. But there's so many amazing people out there. I'm starting to think that we're the problem.
No.
Not a problem.
Is it because everybody has their own personal style?
I think it's just hard because we're a group.
Exactly.
But
also, we really just have very, very high standards, you know? So someone could be amazing, but like...
No.
Just like, we're just very, very like...
It has to be the best.
It has to be right, yeah.
I get it. Is it ever like, are you guys usually all on the same page with that? Or does one
100%.
Really? You guys are all like this?
Yes.
Oh my. That sounds like a handful. All right.
I think the problem is, well, one, we need someone with access to many different things.
Yeah.
And also love the fashion industry, but whenever they give you things, it's in sample size.
That shit don't
We
fit.
are real women. We are not sample size.
Yeah.
So, you know, it can be difficult to get the things that you want to wear and the way, like, to be pictured the way you want it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's inherently bad to have high standards, especially as an artist. Your branding and styling is everything. And so I don't think that they should automatically get the difficult label for liking something a certain way. However, when you go through and recycle through people quite quickly, and then it's said that you're not handling business properly, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. There was an awkward energy when this topic came up, as if there was definitely something behind this, that this has been a struggle for them consistently on the styling front. Now, one fan explicitly said, "They are a relatively new group, LOL. I don't know why you act surprised when you found out these people are broke, especially at the start of their career. As many people said, the reason why Flo probably can't pay them is because they don't have the money to. They're broke." And we don't know that to be a fact. Now, this is in fact true. A lot of people think a lot of these singers got it like that, and they don't. However, this still does not negate the fact that people who are putting in the work, that have arguably helped elevate their brand, helping them put more money into their pockets sooner and expand their business much faster, these people should be paid because they have heavily contributed to the success of these artists. And so it's important that those people are being respected, or it's being handled in a respectful manner. So while I think everybody does need to take a scope of reality, that should not be an excuse. People saying,
does she really think they have 50K to give?
Does it matter? Is that her problem? So to me, a lot of this does sound like there's somebody on their team, there's a snake in the camp, I don't know, that's not handling things properly or guiding them. And it negatively reflects on the group itself. Now, we already talked about like the media training aspect of artists in another video. If you want to see that, go check it out. And I do think as much as relatability sells, we talk about this all the time, meaning that a lot of labels don't see the value, right? You're already trying to cut the budget. You're already trying to cut what you're investing in an artist. Why do we need to invest in PR and training when a lot of audiences value transparency and relatability? Sure. However, you're cutting their knowledge of knowing how to maneuver situations like this. Because the next radio interview they go to, there is a large chance that this is going to be the topic of conversation. Will they be prepared to handle that professionally? It gets to the point where there's fans who are put off by it, and they decide to retrieve their support. Yeah, they might listen to the music, but they might not go out of their way to buy concert tickets, buy records, buy CDs, buy vinyls. Like, they might not go that extra mile because they don't align with the ethos of the members. And that, at the end of the day, will hurt your bottom line in the long run. This is just one of those situations where I guess they kind of have to wait for it to blow over and not make any more mistakes. Because people will always remember. Like Stan Twitter fan, they will always remember. Now, somebody who's followed Flo's journey, I've seen them live. I saw them at Kehlani's concert. I think they're charismatic. I love their songs. I like their arrangements. I love the fact that they brought Bridges back. I think once they get the performance aspect down, and obviously the outfits now, I think they'll be golden. I think they have a very bright future. I want to root for them. I really do. I want them to hold their team accountable, but I also want them to hold themselves accountable. Because I think that there's a mix. I think there's a blending here. Like, I think they are probably a bit more involved. On the flip, we got to talk about it. Flo has had their naysayers, being called a Destiny's Child tribute act, saying that the Cheetah Girls were better. This was a perfect opportunity for a disliker to use the situation to their advantage, to discredit their talent, and to prey on their downfall. There's one thing about holding people accountable, but it's a whole other thing to just completely lie on someone's talent. And that was one thing that I was like, okay, you guys are losing the plot. Like, do you care about this lady not getting her money? Or is this just like a notch on your belt because you wanted to see the group fail? And I also know there's been some brewing tension between like girl group fandoms, because let's face it, it's like the Hunger Games right now of groups starting to find a bit of success since Fifth Harmony in the West. Like a lot of you guys use things for ulterior motives. What we're not going to say is Flo is untalented. That's not what we're going to do. And even in this case, you guys have to learn, a lot of people have different experiences, right? You have to hold space for nuance, because you have their choreographer, Sean Bankhead, saying, I was paid. I love the girls. I enjoy the girls. But you can also argue, because in the showbiz, it's a lot about hierarchy. It's a lot about networking. It's about who you know. You could argue that Sean Bankhead, as a choreographer, has built the capital, the name, and reputation for himself to be taken extremely seriously. So there are absolutely people that you just don't cross because it's of their name, because of their following count, because of their reputation and their connections, right? So we got to be honest. Like, a lot of people in Hollywood do play that game. Is it worth respecting you? I'm not saying that's what happened in Flo's case, but there is a level of like, is it worth respecting you? Can you get me to where I need to go? And if not, we can kind of be shady with you, and with you, we're going to really make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's. And as someone who did have a stint of professional dancing for small artists, I had a great time. It was fun. I was in a little music video. I was in Detroit, you know, with some of the Detroit artists and all of that good stuff. I also personally know dancers who dance with Chris Brown, Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion, who are also friends with the artists that they dance with, right? So there are good relationships. There are good experiences that a lot of these dancers have. But I've heard stories on other jobs with other artists, horror stories, about how the BTS people are treated. Hairstylists, stylists, dancers. I will say there's a lot of behind the scenes, last minute, like as a dancer, guys, I know firsthand with styling and wardrobe, half the time you getting pieces put together from Forever 21. Half the time it's actually what's in your closet. We need everybody to wear all black heels. I'll provide the fishnets. That's what it's like. There's not a lot of money to go around for people in the arts. There's really not. And it's not always the fault of the singers, because they're struggling too, especially small artists. I will say this, if you guys want more information on the realities of working with celebrities in the show business, definitely go check out choreographer Dexter Carr's podcast. Check him out, mic'd up on a Tuesday, and he interviews hairstylists, dancers who dance with celebrities in the industry, and they kind of talk about the transparency of, yeah, it looks glamorous, but this is really what goes on. So in conclusion, this is a little deep dive. This video is not a direct attack at Flo, because I think there's a bigger conversation, as we talked about today, about the industry as a whole. Now that artists are more visible than ever, the fans have more access to you at least, there's a lack of understanding and knowledge of how all of this works, where the artist often becomes the scapegoat, automatically off rip. And in some cases, some artists do deserve it. It's not always a team. I don't think there should be hierarchies necessarily in the art, but there are different artist industries that generate more revenue, and that's why that does exist. But like I said, every role is important. The stylist is oftentimes the person who helps you bring the branding together and really gets you noticed with a visual identity. The hairstylist is often the one creating these unique, iconic hairstyles that can become signatures. Look at an Ariana Grande. The choreographer is making your song go viral because of its infectious dance moves. The background dancers are helping bring your art to life by way of movement and energy. Whether it's them, which I do find myself, I think I do have a little bit of a bias. I find myself wanting to give them a bit more of the benefit of the doubt, where it is kind of most likely their team being lax about communication and crossing their T's, dotting their I's. It's unfortunate because we know all of these stories that I do with the what happened to's, there's often a very common thread, a very common story of the industry, of somebody's label, of someone's team being their absolute downfall. And you have once in a lifetime talents, three times in a generation talents not having careers anymore because of the people behind them. And I would hate for a group like Flow to be in the hands of that fate, because we haven't had a lot of girl groups and there is a market for them. But I'm also not going, because I have like a bias, I'm not going to talk about these situations, right? I really wrestled with this. I was like, should I talk about this? Because I really like this girl group. As somebody who's worked in the creatives field, you know, I wanted to shed a light on the conversation of like, who's responsible for what? Respecting other pieces of the team that are often behind the scenes, behind the curtains, or maybe even the respect. You know, you hear a lot of like about these diva attitudes that a lot of these singers have, where this would not fully be able to happen in the way it's happening without all of these other chess pieces and people in the background making sure you look good. So thank you guys so much for watching today. Comment down below. What do you think about not only the Flow situation, but about creatives and how everybody's pieces fit in this puzzle? Hit that subscribe button down below to see more commentary content just like this. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.